whatever you're doing right now, every second, every minute, every hour of the day is literally writing the script for your future. So if you want a different or a better outcome in your future, then you need to come back to the present and start taking those actions to help you get to that future.
You are now listening to the Going North podcast with your host, author and speaker, Dom Bregman. And every Monday and Thursday, you're going to hear the voice of a different author share their stories, expertise, and their struggles that they had to overcome in life to leave you inspired to get more out of your life. Be sure to not only listen to this episode, but share with others, connect with the authors, and always advance others to advance yourself. Now let's get on with the show.
And today on the Going North podcast, episode 100, baby. 100, baby. And you're probably wondering who the heck we're going to have for episode 100. Well, it's going to be one heck of a huge guest, one of the hugest guests ever on this show. And that's saying a lot because we had millionaires, we had CEOs, and this guy is both. And this wonderful guy right here, he is not only a speaker, he is also an author, more importantly, a child of God, a family man, and an entrepreneur. He is the author of the book 21 Habits of Highly Broke People, as well as the CEO of the agricultural company that is based out of Nigeria, Agro Angels. And you're probably wondering who this wonderful gentleman right here, who's going to be delivering all sorts of gems to put around your neck for some wisdom. It is the one, the only, Dipo Adesina. How are you today, sir?
I am doing phenomenal. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's great to have you on. It's great to have you on, man. Been hearing you had a booking waiting in the wings for like years, and then you finally dropped it. And when I saw the book title, I'm like, oh, shoot, for real?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So what inspired the title, man? Because it's like highly broke people. It's like that's like not only broke, it's like highly broke. It's like you ultra broke, man. It's like, what inspired the title, bro?
Yeah, I think, I think one of the things that kind of inspired the book is that I see a lot of content, a lot of books talking about wealth, talking about wealthy mindset, being rich and financial freedom, but rarely do we talk about, or do you see any book out there that really focuses on why are people poor, right? Because before you become rich, obviously you've gone through some challenges, and a lot of people are still struggling. So the question is, why are you still struggling? And, most people are in their current predicament because of certain habits. So if you're rich, you probably have rich habits. You're doing things that is making you rich. And if you're poor, there's certain things that you're doing that's keeping you poor and living paycheck to paycheck all the time. So when I kind of noticed that disparity, I just figured, let me focus on something that a lot of people can relate to. People might not tell you they're broke. They might look rich, and those are some of the things I talk about in the book. Being a person who's been there before, I know that a lot of people put out a certain image, but that's not their real identity. So those are some of the things that I talk about in the book, just unveiling some of the habits that keeps people poor indefinitely.
That is so true indeed, because a lot of folks, they focus on wealth and they focus on the mindset. But it's like, it's true. It's like there are some habits that keep people poor, and they keep doing them. And when you have something that's become a habit, it's like almost like concrete. You got to replace it with another one.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a lot tougher to replace a bad habit than it is to replace a good habit. Because bad habit, it's been ingrained for the most part from childhood, especially when it comes to money. A lot of people are functioning today based on the money mindset that they grew up with, things they heard their parents say, things they heard their spiritual leaders say. Some of those things have gone deep into their subconscious mind that they're now acting on automation based on a seed that was sown years ago.
Yes, sir, indeed. And I noticed 21 is in the title, and then 21 is drinking age. So is drinking a lot one of the habits of broke people?
It's close. It's close. One of the habits, if you want to kind of put that in there, is the habit of partying too much. And you would think, why is that included in a book? Well, you have to think about it, especially when it comes to millennials. Millennials have a habit of socializing, entertainment, happy hour, and so many other activities that entail you spending money. Because when you talk about habit of highly broke people, you're talking about things that is taking money out of your pocket in a certain way of thinking, right? So you can see a person who claims they don't have any money, living paycheck to paycheck, but every weekend such person is going out to the club. They're going out to socialize. They're going out to happy hours. And when you add up all those little monies, $20 here, $11 here, $15 here, at the end of the year, most people would have spent easy $1,500 just on entertainment at minimum. All right, and those same people probably do not even have $1,000 saved in their bank account. I think there was a research that states that about 39% of United States population do not have $0 have $0 in their bank account. These are working people, right? So we're not talking about kids, adults that are working. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, man, it's become a lot rougher out there, especially with the cost of living just being raised cent by cent, bit by bit, with the dollar inflating and folks just trying to keep up and needing like 2 and 3 jobs to keep up with either spending habits or just trying to make up for just getting by in certain regards. So it's true.
Yeah.
And then it's like if you choose coping methods that'll keep you broke, you're going to be like financially injured for a long time.
Of course. And one of the things that I also talked about, Dominique, is that a lot of people have, and once we get into mindset, that you need 2 to 3 jobs in order to survive. And when you look at it, most people are conditioned to think that it's working a job that either brings in money or that's going to help you become financially free. That's one of the habits of highly broke people, is that they have a fixated way of thinking. All right, so if I want to make more money, I need to go and get another job. If I want to make more money, I need to work overtime. You see, that kind of thinking is not as produced the kind of result that they're seeing. So when you look at it from another standpoint, because in the book I compare, poor people versus wealthy people. When a wealthy person needs more money, they're thinking, what value can I add to more people to generate income? Because when you look at money, money's all about exchange for value. So the more value you add to people, either through your product or service, the more money you make. So that mindset shift alone is huge. Going from a job mindset to what can I create, right? What can I create? What value can I add? What can I sell, to make money? So that kind of thinking it's a huge shift, but once that shift is made, the sky's not the limit at that point.
Amen to that, man. Amen to that. A book of this magnitude is probably going to need to be in audio form, too. So is there going to be an audio version of this one out, too?
Yes, an audio version will be coming out once the ebook as well as the actual hard copies is made available. Then the ebook will be, not the ebook, the audiobook will be coming right along after that.
Oh, sweet! You reading it too?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the game plan.
Woo! Awesome indeed. Awesome indeed. That's right. Getting that Dipo action in your ears, baby. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about indeed.
Yeah.
Well, you've been broke, and now I'm pretty sure you're a wealthy guy because you're also the CEO of Agro Angels. Mind telling us a bit about that company too?
Yeah, so Agro Angels is it's a company that I created. It's a platform that allows people to invest in different farming projects in Africa. And, one of the reasons we put that in place is really, for me, I'm all about financial empowerment, right? How do you get people to start having their money work for them? A part of going back to the habits of highly broke people is that a person might have, $50,000 in their bank account. You wake up, you open, you check your bank account, you look at it, the money's there, you're happy. But what you don't understand is if your money's not working for you, you're just broke on a higher level. Because at the end of the day, something is going to take that money away if it's not investment. That's why money never stands still. It always moves in circulation, right? When you keep your money in the bank, the money you actually deposit does not sit there and wait for you to come back, right? The bank takes that money and loans it to somebody else who knows what to do with it to multiply the money. So one of the things that I'm very passionate about is how do I help ordinary people who have no business mindset, no investment mindset, to really start putting your money into different opportunities and have it work for you. So that's the concept of Agro Angels, where we identify lucrative farm projects in Africa, and those who are interested, you put your money in. Of course, there are risks involved, but by God's grace, we've been fortunate to pay back all our investors at the appointed times. So, yeah, that's the concept of Agro Angels. So we also have other, we're looking into real estate with the same business model, transportation with the same business model. So, for me, I'm about investing in Africa and getting people to see the limelight and the massive and abundance of resources that are in Africa, which a lot of people really still don't understand yet. So that's why a lot of my resources, a lot of my investment is just pushing it to different parts of Africa. That's what Agro Angels is all about. So anything that I do, honestly, is really all about financial empowerment, starting businesses, and putting people in a position to be able to leverage their money to work for them.
That is an awesome thing, man. Financial empowerment, and not only just being a businessman here locally, but being an international businessman and taking you to Africa and actually using the gifts that are lying within Africa to actually benefit the people that are there already, because it's a lot of folks just infiltrating that continent, the whole continent actually, and just trying to just pillage everything of all the resources, just like the suck it dry. And it's where we got folks like you out there is actually trying to help the folks there financially, but also through your company as well, through agriculture as well.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir, indeed. And one thing I've noticed about a lot of folks, especially successful ones, is that they usually don't get to where they are alone. So I'm pretty sure there have been a lot of books that you've read, but mind sharing probably your top 3 titles, including the Bible, since I know you're a minister as well, that have really just helped you to get the mindset to get to where you currently are right now.
Yeah, I mean, hands down, the Bible is number 1. I read that every morning when I do my devotion. I think anybody who really wants to succeed in life, you need to be spiritually grounded, right? And I think for me, I feel incomplete if I do not meditate and feed myself with the Word on a daily basis. It's sort of like not eating breakfast and lunch, right? You just kind of feel a certain way, and that's how I feel when I don't study the Word on a daily basis. From a business standpoint, I think this is like the entry level to anybody who wants to start a business, and that's reading the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. It just kind of gives you that entrance into the world of entrepreneur, right? And there's so many other books. Honestly, I can't really even pinpoint because I read a lot. I can't pinpoint one specific book, but I know Rich Dad Poor Dad definitely had a huge impact on me. Think and Grow Rich, those are one of the great classics. The one that I'm reading now is called Snowball, and that's a book on Warren Buffett, sort of like a biography, a phenomenal book, and just being able to get into the mind of an investor, how he thinks, his childhood, growing up, how he started investing, like those type of things helped me as an investor and as a business owner to really understand how investment works, right? And I think people who want to be successful, you have to be a voracious reader. You have to read about successful people. You have to read about their mistakes. Some of the mistakes that I've made in businesses was due to the fact that I didn't study those who've already gone in that line. Reading is powerful. If you want to become successful in anything, you have to fall in love with reading. And I'm not talking about fiction books, okay? These are nonfiction books that really add value to you as a person. So, yeah.
Amen to that indeed, man, because it's like a lot of fiction books, especially the ones that they require you to read in grade school. It's like, oh, man, you just, like, hate reading after that, man.
And it's interesting because I think even the school system does not really set you up for success, right? Because some of the things that we do or that we did when we were in school, those knowledge are antiquated, right, in the real world. And I always find it interesting that we spend thousands of dollars to go to school from kindergarten all the way to your even PhD level. And there is not a single course that teaches people about money. I mean, it's very interesting, right? One of the most important subjects in the world, right? Money. That touches every single soul. Money. But when you go to school and you spend all this money, nobody teaches you how to handle money, how to invest money. I think these should be prerequisites for any career path that you're choosing, right? How do you handle money? What do you do with money? How do you invest money? Irrespective of what you're going to school for, you know. So that's why those are some of the reasons why I know I have to be passionate about this, teaching my children about money, because I know for a fact they're not doing it at school. So, and if you don't teach your children, imagine, Dominique, if we were taught, some of the things we know now, if we were taught these things when we were younger, things about money, things about public speaking, because I know you also do that as well. Like some of the basic things in life, if we were taught these things at a young age, most of us won't be where we are today. Would you agree?
Oh man, I agree fully.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So we have to take full responsibility of our lives, full responsibility of the next generation coming up to, let the school do what they have to do, but we have to be the school teachers, the professors at home, and even with our audience, the people you speak to on your audience with your podcast. That's the purpose of these things. So we're retweaking the mindset of people and reconditioning it to the path of success.
Yeah, man, that mindset is an important thing because it's like it's basically attached to you. It's where all the habits begin.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything is really about your mindset, and that's why if you can get a person to change their mindset, you can. I mean, the sky's not the limit, right? But unfortunately, like I said before, Dominique, when we were growing up, everything that we were learning was contributing to a certain mindset, a certain way of thinking. So, for example, when I was growing up, I saw my mother working 2 jobs. I saw my grandmother working 2 jobs. So as a youngster, to me, wow, this is the way to make more money. You work 2 jobs. Because the more you work, the more money you make. Well, by the time I got to college, graduate, I realized that's not the path. If you want to make more money, you don't go and get another job. You have to start something. And I saw how hard my parents worked. I see how hard people are working today. It'll be a thing of joy if working 2 jobs can make you wealthy, or if working 2 jobs could help you pay off your debt faster for most people, right? But you realize, Dominique, that the more people work 2 jobs and 3 jobs, nothing is changing about their situation. Everything is still the same. So if everything is still the same, that means, sir, you have to do something different. And that's where the reprogramming comes into play. changing the way you think. And, of course, that's a whole other process that I coach on, but it's just people need to realize that financial freedom, wealth, is not accumulated by the number of hours that you work. And once people start to understand that, then they start thinking differently. Well, if working 2 jobs is not the way, then what else can I do to start generating more income?
Yeah, speaking of starting, any advice for any young entrepreneur out there or any like millennials who may be thinking of starting a business?
Yeah, I think there's never been a time as we have today for someone to start a business. I mean, you can be a 13-year-old and start a business and become a millionaire, right? So for me, when you think about starting a business, it's not a ambiguous word, that is just, all right, what can I start? You can look at your community, you can look at your inner circle, your friends, and say, what value can I provide to people around me to make money? And I give you several examples. Going back to when I was 12, 13, most people don't come to school carrying candy in their backpacks, right? So in understanding that, I used to go to the candy store. A friend of mine, 2 of us would go to the candy store, to the market, grab some candies, and come to school and resell them for 50 cents, right? So we were literally doubling our money right on in middle school, because the reason was we had something that everybody else didn't have. They had access to it after school, but because we had it when they wanted it, we made money. Okay? So that's the mindset that people need to have when you're talking about adding value to people. So same thing in college. When I was in college, I had a source of getting brand name clothes at a ridiculous discount, and I would sell them right from my trunk to on campus, at a discounted rate that they would get at the regular store, and I was making money. So when you think about it, it's really, hey, what do people need, right? What do people need, and how can I provide the solution to what they need? And that's really all I do. I find out what people need. I help them get it. And, like, for example, a lady called me this afternoon, and she wanted me to coach her on how to rebuild her brand and things like that. And she's asking me, how much am I going to charge, right? These are things that I've taken time to learn, to develop the skill set, that I've now become an authority where I can charge somebody for these services. So if if somebody's listening to this, say, hey, what can I do to start a business? It's not as serious as you think it is. It just look around your community. What can you do that other people can't, right? What is missing in your community? What is missing on campus? What is missing at your high school, your middle school, and start becoming a solution to those problems. And I think that's a good start for most people.
Find a need, fill a need. Love it.
Absolutely.
That's right. There's a bunch of cavities out there, baby, and not just in people's mouths either.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of youth, if you were to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 in the current year of 2018, what piece of advice would you give to yourself?
Action. I would tell my 25-year-old self to procrastinate less and act more, because there are certain things that if I would have done certain things back then, I won't be. And I think it's like that for most people, right? If we would have done certain things at the right time, we won't be where we are today. And if we are to do certain things today that we should be doing 5 years from now, we will be where we want to be. So it's always having that mindset that whatever you're doing right now, every second, every minute, every hour of the day is literally writing the script for your future. So If you want a different or a better outcome in your future, then you need to come back to the present and start taking those actions to help you get to that future. So hands down is really just the old Dipo, take action on the ideas you had then so you can be at a better place that you are today. One of the great decisions that I did make when I was 25, I got married, which was a goal of mine. By God's grace, I was able to accomplish that. So, everything happened in its time, but sometimes we miss the right timing, which kind of delays the right expectations.
Yeah, so true indeed. So true indeed. Man, it's almost like everybody's got that regret at one point or another until it actually happens. Like, man, if I didn't procrastinate, I could have got so much done.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny because that's actually one of the things I spoke about in the book. One of the habits is that, habit of procrastination. What I've noticed, right, is that people who often procrastinate miss out on life-changing opportunities. Everybody's presented with opportunity, not just wealthy people. Opportunity comes to everybody. But the funny thing is that when you procrastinate on an idea, that procrastination is costing you, but it's being gained by somebody else. So I say that people remain broke because they fail to act on certain ideas that they had or certain opportunities that came across their path. And I give you an example. I have a gentleman very close to every single business project, all right, that I am about to launch. I always reach out to him like, hey, listen, this is what's going on. Like, let's make this thing happen. His response is always, we'll talk. We'll talk later. We'll talk later. Right? When I say literally every single opportunity that comes my way, I always reach out. I do that, right? Because I want to carry him along. But I've come to realize that certain people are just not interested in opportunities, right? So you can see the difference. Like wealthy people, they understand the power of opportunities, the power of ideas. So they don't waste time because ideas literally grow wings, right? So Dominique, if you have an idea right now, all right, a gold mine idea, it's going to work and you keep sitting on it. Believe me, somebody else somewhere around the world is thinking about the same idea, right? The only difference between you two is that who's going to act first on that idea, right? And the moment somebody acts on that idea, forget about it. I mean, that idea is gone forever from you. So I always say that people who are struggling is because it's not because they don't have ideas to make money. It's because they don't have the work ethics or there's certain things, the habits holding them back from taking action. So, yeah, procrastination is a very dangerous phenomenon.
Oh, yeah, man. So for those who need to stop procrastinating and keep up with what you're doing, how do we keep in contact with you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always on social media. Facebook, reach out to me on Facebook, Dipo Adesina, D-I-P-O, last name A-D-E-S-I-N-A. You can also check out my website, www.dipoadesina.com. And if you want to shoot me an email, dipo@dipoinspires.com. So any one of those mediums, you can definitely get in contact with me.
Woohoo! That's what I'm talking about. Go on ahead and check out his site. And it's a very darn good website, I might add. I remember years on end you talk about you got like a bunch of speaking engagements but no website. And boom, now you got the brand new website, man. My man preaching, baby. All you need is a clip of you in a robe, and it'll be freaking icing on the cake, baby.
That's hilarious.
Yes, sir, indeed. Yes, sir, indeed. Be sure to pick up that magical book as well so you won't stay broke if you're broke already. And like my man Dipo said, make sure if you're wealthy, go ahead and pick up that book too. So for those family members always ask you for something, just hand them that book so that way they can learn.
Absolutely. Like, hey, read this book real quick and get back to me. Let me know what you think.
Like, man, oh man, when I become the diplomat in Maui, I'm going to buy 500 copies of that book, and then I'm going to pass them out every time someone asks for something. Like, oh, there you
go. Yeah, it's a beautiful, I think it's a great strategy. Somebody asks you for money, hey, read this book real quick for about 30 minutes and then come back to me, right? I think it'll change that perspective.
He's got a whole feeling like, man, it's like, all right, man, this is a great book, but I'm going to need $30, all right?
I still need that money. I still need that money. That's funny.
Woo! So any parting words for the listening audience?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I always tell people is that if you want change in your life, I mean, it really doesn't matter whether it's in your finances or your spiritual life, your relationship. There's something that you don't know that's keeping you where you are, and that's the power of information and knowledge. And I always say this, that the only difference, one of the major difference between wealthy people and people who are not wealthy is information. They know something that you don't know. So any area of your life that you're deficient in knowledge, go and seek knowledge, right? So if it's in your finances, well, find out why you're always struggling. If it's in your relationship, find out why things are never working out. If it's in your spiritual life, find out how you can, develop your spirituality, get closer to God. So final departing words is seek knowledge, right? Knowledge is power, and applied knowledge is even more powerful.
Hey there, buddy. Looks like you made it to the end of this episode. Since you made it to the end of this episode, do both of us a favor and stop being greedy. Stop it right now and share this episode with your friends and your fellow podcast lovers, especially those who have book clubs and want to listen to the authors who write some amazing books. Be sure to check out the rest of the backlog too while you're at it, and share all those too.